Hi, I'm Kristen. Today I want to show you my go-to workout. This is the workout I do when I have limited time, I don't have access to equipment, or if I just want a fast, full-body workout.
Our first exercise is a squat with palm up front raise. On your squat, make sure if your knees are good, you're getting your hips nice and low, about parallel to the floor. Sitting those hips back so the knee stays right in line with the ankle, and then as you bring your arms up, you're powering to the top, working through those biceps and through the shoulders. Powering up, actually lifting to your toes, working into the calves as you finish. Now we're moving on to a squat hold. So in that squat position, again, hips nice and low, knee stays right in line with the ankle, and your back is nice and flat, chest is tall, long deep breaths as you hold this squat, working through the hamstrings, the glutes, the quads. Now we're moving on to a jumping jack squat. So a full squat, powering up the arms into a jumping jack position. Lots of power here, actually getting off the ground if you're doing the full jump. Here's a modification. If you're not doing impact, you're just lifting up to the toes as you power those arms up. So a total of 10 of these. And then we're moving on to lunges. Front or reverse lunge, I'm demonstrating the reverse lunge first here. Making sure that knee stays right in line with the ankle as you step back. Also pushing those hips back, so the back remains flat. Chest is always tall. And again, in the front, you want to make sure that knee stays right in line with the ankle. Now I'm demonstrating the front lunge. This is a little bit more challenging. If you're a beginner or if you're being mindful of joint injuries in the knees or the hips, I'd stick with the reverse lunge. The front lunge targeting a little bit more of those quadriceps. And the wider you step, the more you'll get into those hamstrings. So again, really important that that knee stays in line with the ankle. Now moving on to an RDL, Romanian deadlift, with a rear deltoid fly. So single leg RDL with rear deltoid fly. We're doing 10 each leg. Stabilizing knee remains bent, and then we're lengthening that leg up and away behind you. The arms come to the side in a fly position, squeezing those shoulder blades together. Nice and controlled on the way back down. Try to stabilize on that one foot if you can. So 10 each leg, we've moved on to the other leg now. Be sure that back stays flat as the leg comes behind you. I'm bringing my chest and abs all the way parallel to the floor as well as that leg. And it just depends on your flexibility. If you can't get your leg that high, don't try to force it. Just keep it a little lower as you squeeze those arms into the shoulder blades. Remember, nice and controlled on the way back down. Try to stabilize without bringing that leg all the way to the floor. Really work on your balance. Last exercise is a squat jump or a power squat. You have 20 of these. I'm demonstrating the full squat jump first, so getting off the ground. If you have not been doing consistent strength training for at least 12 weeks, or if you have joint issues that you're being mindful of, you're going to stay away from impact for a while. So now I'm demonstrating the modification where you just come up to the toes, still powering to the top, still getting your hips nice and low, but just powering up to those toes. Keeping good form on the squat, chest is tall, hips come back as you bring it down. So that completes part 1 of my go-to workout. You are going to repeat that circuit 1 to 3 times before moving on to part 2. The first exercise of our second circuit is a push-up, and we'll be doing 10 of these. Make sure that your back stays nice and flat, core is tight, and you're coming all the way down nice and slowly. If you're not able to get all the way down, you can see how my nose is actually touching the ground and I'm coming down slowly. If you're not able to do that, I'd like you to come down to the knees. I'd rather you get full range of motion and be down from your knees than cheating from your toes. Remember, your core is always tight to support your low back, and that back remains flat. 10 push-ups, and then we'll be moving on to our side position iso ab. We'll be holding this for 30 to 60 seconds. So if you're starting to feel stress on your shoulder or your low back, it's time to come down to the knees, which I'll show in just a second, or take a break. I'm timing this for all the way to 60 seconds is what I'm demonstrating here. You want your elbow directly underneath your shoulders are stacked, and then the shoulder is in line with the hip all the way down to the ankle. Neck is in a straight line. We want our entire spine to stay straight so that we work all those muscles down the spine. Here's the modification, bringing it down to the knees. We still want to be sure that the knee stays in line with the shoulder, so you're just tucking those legs straight back behind you. Shoulders are still stacked, neck is still nice and straight, and we're pulling through the obliques and the hips as we stabilize. Still breathing here, long deep breaths. Then moving on to a front position iso ab. We'll come back to the other side in just a second. So on the front position iso ab, same thing here, that back stays nice and flat. Core is tight, so you're actually drawing those abs in to support your low back. Our elbow is directly underneath the shoulder. Neck is in a straight line, and that back is nice and flat. If you start to feel any stress on your low back, it just means that your abs are getting too tired to support your low back. So I'd like for you to come down to the thighs. So this is the modification. Back still stays nice and flat, elbow still underneath that shoulder, neck in a straight line. Be sure you're breathing here. Long deep breaths. And be sure that those abs are still nice and tight to support your low back. If you're from your knees and you still feel any stress on your low back, it's time to take a break. I'm demonstrating these for the full 60 seconds, but if you're a beginner, you'll start with around 30 seconds. Now we're switching over to the other side, and I'll demonstrate a full minute here. I'll do the same as last time, so you'll see me do 30 seconds all the way up, and then I'll drop to my knees for the last 30 seconds. Always make sure as you get in position that everything is stacked and in a straight line. So watch for that elbow. It should be directly underneath the shoulder. The other shoulder is stacked on top of that. You're in a straight line down to the hip and all the way down to the heel. Lift through those hips as you tighten through the obliques and the hips. And remember, if you're having any stress on the shoulder or the abs, just drop it down to the knees and finish off here. And remembering, if you're still feeling any stress on the back or the shoulders, you'll take a break. Listen to your body. So again, as I drop down to those knees, the knee is in line with the hip and all the way up to the shoulder. Everything stays in a straight line, including the neck. We're even working those muscles in the neck by keeping that neck in a straight line. Moving on now to an alternating superhero. So we're starting from the hands and knees, lengthening through the arm and through the leg. Your arm and leg, if you have the flexibility to do so, should be coming up nice and straight and about parallel to the floor. So you're extending through the toes and through the fingers. Hips should be square and shoulders should be square. Really lengthening and reaching through the fingertips and through the toes. Be sure that your neck still stays in a straight line here. We're working all those muscles down the spine, through the backside, the hamstrings, the glutes, the low back, as well as the upper back. Really reach those arms and legs. So pointing through the fingertips, reaching through the toes. Lots of length as we do these. I'm demonstrating the 30, but if you're a beginner, you'll be doing more like 20. Always watch for those hips and for the shoulders so they stay right in line with one another. Our last exercise of the circuit is a bridge. and we'll be holding this for 1 minute. So from the back, the knees are bent, you're just lifting the hips. We want those hips nice and high so the spine is in a straight line. Not so high that your back is hyperextended, we just want it straight across. You should be able to wiggle your toes in your shoes and pressing those heels down into the floor. Really concentrate on pressing the heels through the floor. You'll feel those hamstrings tighten up as you do that. We're working through the hamstrings, the glutes, the low back. You saw me change a leg position there, so I'm just taking the legs out a little bit wider, and this is a way to target the glutes. And as I do this, my toes are out and I'm pressing my knees toward the hips. Now we're moving into a little closer stance. So the knees and the feet are fairly close together, hips are up. This position will work a little bit more into the low back. So that's just an example of how you vary positions to work a little bit differently. So that completes part 2 of my go-to workout. You'll repeat that entire circuit 1 to 3 times.